Hello, and welcome to today's National 8A Association January 2023 webinar. I'm Haley Bingham, Deputy Director with the National 8A Association. The National 8A Association is a nonprofit with a mission to provide education and guidance for all aspiring, current, and graduate 8As. We are also proud to work with all types of minority small businesses, HubZone, veteran-owned, women-owned, JVs, agencies, large primes, and industry professionals. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this webinar is being recorded and all presentation materials will be posted on our website. If you'd like to ask a question, please use the chat feature and select everyone or email us at events@national8aassociation.org. I'd like to now introduce you all to today's speaker, Kimberly Ball, Director of the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization at the U.S. Agency for International Development. Please join me in welcoming Kimberly to tell us how to do business with USAID. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you, Haley. I'm happy to be here today to talk about my organization, the wonderful work we do, and how your listeners can be a part of that work.
Awesome. We're ready for you to kick us off.
All right, sounds good. So, next slide. Okay, for those of you who haven't heard of USAID, we are the U.S. Agency for International Development. We are the development arm of the United States government. We promote and demonstrate democratic values abroad and advance a free, peaceful, and prosperous world. Next slide. Just to give you a sense of where we're operating, where we're working, we are located domestically only here in Washington, D.C., but we are in the developing world everywhere else. So we are in Latin America and the Caribbean, we're in Europe and Eurasia, we're in Africa, we're in the Middle East, and we're in Asia. Right now, we are operating just outside Ukraine. We typically have a presence there, but we are working outside of Ukraine to continue to support them in Putin's war against Ukraine. Our team of 9,000 serves over 100 countries around the world. And those 9,000 people, next slide, are made up of both U.S. direct hires, our contractors that we work with, and then the foreign service nationals that work in the countries where we're located. In terms of the work that we do, this gives you a nice visual of the type of things that we do. We work in agriculture, economic growth, environment. We work in human rights. We work in governance. We work in women's empowerment, water and sanitation. We work in those things that, when they're improved, increase the lives and livelihoods in the people in the countries where we work. We have a particular focus on women's empowerment because we know that as women are elevated, their families are elevated. Next slide. So we partner with more than 4,000 U.S. and non-U.S. organizations around the world. And what we talk about today hopefully will help encourage you to try to be one of those organizations. So we do work with non-governmental organizations, that's NGOs such as World Vision and Save the Children, things like that. We work with charitable organizations. We work with colleges and universities. We work with diaspora groups. That's going to be the people whose families are from the countries in which we work. They're the countries of origin, but they're American citizens now. We worked very much with the faith-based community, and we work with the other governments, the host country governments where we are. But also, we obviously also work with for-profit businesses from the United States, and those include large businesses, but also small businesses. So my office is focused on helping to make sure that small businesses get a fair and equitable share of the contracts that my agency is issuing. Next slide. So how do we fund our awards? I just mentioned acquisitions, but we do assistance as well. So acquisition, just for clarity's sake, is the purchase of goods and services through contracts. Those things are posted on sam.gov. For assistance, that's usually a grant or a cooperation. That's carrying out someone else's idea in a way that helps to benefit the community where they're working. So assistance awards can go to U.S. organizations. They can go to public international organizations such as the International Red Cross, or they can go to local organizations and countries. And those opportunities are released on grants.gov. Okay, next slide. Okay, so as Haley said and I mentioned, I am with the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. Just a couple of things about the work that our office does. So we review and provide clearance for any of our domestic acquisitions that are above the simplified acquisition threshold. That's $250,000. So for anything that's over that dollar limit, we have an opportunity to weigh in on the procurement strategy. Our goal with that is to make sure that small businesses, as I said, are given a fair opportunity to compete, but also to help determine what the appropriate level of small business engagement is, right? In some cases, that's going to be a small business set aside. In other situations, it's going to be a partial set aside or part of the award, but not the award in its entirety is set aside for small business. In other cases, that might be in subcontracting work. So we take a look and help to make some decisions about that, usually based on our knowledge of the market and any additional market research that we might want to conduct, including sources sought notices, requests for information. We might do an industry day. We might do a pre-solicitation conference. All of those things that help us to make that decision, and that many of which you as small businesses have the opportunity to participate in. We conduct small business program training for acquisition and technical staff. Just last week, we had a training that was given by the Small Business Administration on the 8A program as we want to increase our small business and 8A utilization. And we also connect with internal and external partners to conduct small business related outreach and activities. So we partner with folks inside our agency to do that, particularly our industry liaison, but we also partner with others. There is a Small Business Association for International Companies, which is a trade organization comprised entirely of small businesses that are interested in working in the international arena. So we will partner with them or with other small business organizations such as U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce to make sure that we're focusing on the small business community and making sure that they're as informed as possible about how to work with us as an agency. That's why we're here today as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, just a little bit more about our office. For those of you who are currently working in the federal government as small businesses, you may know that the government has a small business goal. It's actually 23%. For FY 2023, USAID's small business goal is 13.25%. It's a little bit lower just based on the type of work that we do. Because we have very large contracts that are performed almost entirely overseas, that our numbers are a little bit lower than you might see from some other federal agencies. But rest assured, we remain very committed to having small businesses as partners, whether that's doing our domestic work or that's working as our implementing partners, actually implementing our programs overseas and in the field. We also have a goal of 14.5% for subcontracts. We work with our internal operating units. We call them our bureaus, independent offices, and our missions. Those are like embassies. Those are the USAID organizations that are located in the countries where we work overseas. So we negotiate small business goals with any of them who have obligations in a given year over $5 million. So we use that as a means to help us reach our agency-wide goal and to make sure that people are invested in helping us to achieve that goal and recognizing that it isn't just an OSDBU goal, it is an agency-wide goal, and that means that everybody has a part in making sure that that goal is achieved. Okay, next slide. So you want to work with us. So how do you get to know us? There are a couple of things that you can do. As I said, we are on grants.gov. We are on sam.gov. We put out a uh, a number of things that are going to be helpful for you in terms of how you get to know us. One thing on our website that I think is extraordinarily helpful is called Dollar to Results. So it actually shares what USAID is spending and where, right? What country are we spending money in? What sector, right? Is it health? Is it the health sector? Is it agriculture? Is it water? Is it sanitation? Because we don't do everything that we do everywhere. So you might be interested in a particular country, but we're not necessarily doing the work that you want to do in that country. So this is a great way for you to see and be able to do that sort of match. This is the kind of work I want to do. This is a country I want to do it in. As you said, working in that area in that country, right? So it's a wealth of information. Um, can, and it also tells you who we're currently working with, right? So when you're looking for subcontracting opportunities, it's helpful from that perspective as well. It gives a list of our top 10 recipients. That's actually a mix of our people receiving our assistance awards, people receiving our contracts, but also the governments that are receiving funding from us as well. Um, so consider how we can contact you. Are you on GSA schedule, right? Like most agencies right now, we're doing a lot of category management. For our technical services, that our number one vehicle is the OASIS vehicle. So if you're on OASIS, definitely USAID is a place that you should consider. But we use other GSA vehicles as well. So I think that's an absolute plus if you're on schedule and it's a way that we can get to you easily. Be willing to subcontract. We do have a list of our IDIQs and our IDIQ holders that's available on our website. So you can see where we already have contracts that obviously have already been awarded, but is there an opportunity to subcontract to some of those organizations? So just important information for how you are able to access us. Next slide, please. The other things I would say is respond to our RFIs. We use that quite a bit as a vehicle for the agency when we're trying to survey the market and find out who's out there that's doing the kind of work that we're interested in. So absolutely respond to RFIs. I know they're a lot of work without a guarantee of any work, but they really are helpful in making sure that the contracting officers are aware of the small businesses that are in the environment that we're looking at. Um, and then I would also say we have a tremendous resource that's called workwithusaid.org. And it gives you a lot of information on the new local international partners that we work with. It gives you information on how to work with USAID. There are a lot of training videos on that site. And there's also a survey that you can take that will help you to determine whether or not you're ready to work with USAID. So I think that that's a lot of really helpful information in a single place. You'll note that it's workwithusaid.org. It is currently outside our firewall. Sometime over the summer, it will switch to .gov. But for right now, if you're looking for this resource, make sure it's workwithusaid.org. They also have a list of upcoming opportunities to hear from the agency. We do things like reverse industry days, and that information is always listed on the site. So definitely something that if you want to work with USAID, that I think is an invaluable tool in getting to know us a little bit better. Next slide. So one of the other things that the agency does is called country development cooperation strategies. It's a long-term view about what's being planned in a specific country. They do these as five-year strategies, and it reflects the collaboration the collaborative work that we're doing with the host country government, with other federal agencies that are in country. It gives you a very good sense about what we're doing for that specific period of time. Now, they are staggered, right? So you might be on year one in South Africa and in year four of that particular CDCS in Asia or in Thailand. But it will give you a sense of the type of work that's being planned in that country over the next 5-year period. And again, I think that helps you with your own research into whether or not this is, a place that you want to work. Um, so very valuable. They're online. You can find them, and it gives you a good sense of what we're doing. The other thing is follow us. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. I understand this video will be on YouTube. There are a number of USAID videos on YouTube that you can watch as you begin to learn about the agency and make decisions about whether or not we are an organization that you would like to work with. Okay, and then join us. We, as an office, my office, the OSDBU office, hosts outreach events for our current and potential partners on a regular basis, and there's a list of them on our website. So we are here today. We will be at the National A-Day Conference in New Orleans in February. We are happy to talk to people about the work that we do, and how you may or may not fit within the organization. Hopefully, how you will fit within the organization. But come talk to us, get to know us. Okay. Next slide, thanks. Before we go on to this slide, I'm going to backtrack for a minute because I thought it was on an upcoming slide, but maybe not. I didn't talk about our business forecast. It may be upcoming, but I'm going to pause here and talk about it anyway, in the event that it's not. But USAID has probably one of the best business forecasts across the government. It is updated on an ongoing basis, and it tells you what we're seeking to procure, both domestically overseas. It's got a searchable function, so you can pick a country, or you can pick a sector, such as global health or agriculture or economic growth. You can pick those things and search accordingly. You can search by small business set aside to look for what opportunities are coming up. There's a point of contact there. There are dollar values there, so you have some sense of what we're actually looking at in terms of, what the size or magnitude of the vehicle is going to be. So definitely a worthwhile worthwhile tool to get to know as you get to know us as an agency. Okay, we wanted to give you a sense about how we're doing across the board. So in FY22, these numbers are not final yet. They're still preliminary as they have not yet been blessed by the Small Business Administration, but they're pretty close to accurate. Last year, our goal was 12.5%. We actually obligated 16.5 and obligated almost $1 billion to U.S. small businesses. That is huge for us as an agency. It is the most that we've ever done. We are quite proud of that, and we're very much looking forward to trying to exceed that in the next year or two. You can see where we struggle a bit are in the hub zone categories and the service disabled veteran-owned small business category. So we are focusing very much on those two areas right now, along with the additional focus on the 8A program because of the focus of the Biden administration on that particular category. So I would say if we have three areas that we're really trying to focus on this year, in addition to our overall small business view, it would be the 8A, the SDB program, the Hub Zone program, the Service Disabled Vet program. Okay, next slide. So I mentioned the Biden administration interest in the small disadvantaged business category, and I'm sure you guys have heard about this. There's a huge focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility from this administration. This is part of that. And we've done pretty well last year. Our goal was 7.5 and we hit 7.7. Our goal for the coming year is 8.4, so we'll have to continue to stretch and grow. But right now, I think we're looking pretty good. We're very interested, though, in continuing to work with our 8A partners. Again, part of the reason we're here, part of the reason we'll be in New Orleans, part of the reason that we did training with our contracting colleagues, and that we'll have more outreach events coming that we're hosting as an agency, because we truly need to focus on this, and we'll continue to do so. Okay, thank you. Next slide. There we go. The business forecast. Here it comes. Okay, so again, this is a look at what we're putting out in the future, and it's an opportunity for you to search the opportunities that we have so you can be prepared to bid on them. In addition to the business forecast, though, which is on our website, and you'll see that the address is there on the slide, but you can also just Google USAID business forecast. It pops right up. As I said, it has a searchable function, but also we host quarterly webinars to allow the small business community and the large business community to hear directly from the agency about things that are on the forecast and about what's upcoming and what's important to us. What are our priorities? So that call is also advertised on our Work with USAID website. And in addition to that, we post all of the questions. Let me say one other thing. You're given the opportunity to submit questions, and all of the questions that you submit will be answered. We don't answer them all on the call, but they are all answered and then posted on the website. So it's a really great opportunity to get your questions addressed if you have questions about a particular item on the forecast. And questions on the business forecast can be sent to the website that you see here, businessforecast@usaid.gov. Again, can't emphasize heavily enough how important this one is if you want to work with us as an agency. Okay, next slide. Okay, this one is just to give you a sense of some of the things that are on our business forecast right now. One of our bureaus, which supports humanitarian assistance, that means they're out, supporting natural disasters, et cetera, that are happening in the world, or supporting countries that have gone through those types of things. So this one is actually the Syria Humanitarian Monitoring Project. You'll notice it's 10 to 24 million dollars. It's going out under OASIS, which I mentioned earlier, and is a total small business set aside. Charles Acock, who's on the call with me today, is our OSDBU point of contact for that. It is a tremendous opportunity to work with USAID. Obviously, this is work overseas in Syria, and it's a monitoring project. We do a lot of monitoring and evaluation. We're very much a learning agency, so we want to keep monitoring the work that we do and be able to pivot as appropriate. And there's a huge opportunity for small businesses who work in the monitoring field to engage with us. Also, under the Bureau for Conflict Prevention and Stabilization, SWIFT, SWIFT 6 in this case, support which implements fast transactions, is our Office of Transition Initiatives. Again, that one is pretty big. It's going up to almost $3 billion, and it's advertised as a partial small business set aside. It is an IDIQ, and so, there will be task orders issued against the vehicle. So you're not necessarily looking at, having to be able to manage that volume alone. It's a multiple award IDIQ, and a certain number of those Awards will be set aside for small business. So, if you're interested in doing this kind of work, some of it's administrative, some of it's work in the field, then this is an opportunity. And again, these are just to give you a sense of what is out there on the site. Next slide. This just gives you an example of what we're currently doing and that small businesses are currently doing with us. I mentioned the monitoring and evaluation. We also have small businesses who are operating as institutional support contractors and providing administrative and technical assistance. USAID buys a lot of institutional support because we frankly don't have a significant number of direct hire staff to conduct all of the work that we need to do, and so we bring in people under contract. Okay, next slide. Just another example. Let's keep going. I'd love to get to Q&A. Okay, this is just tips for submitting your proposal. You guys know this already. Read it carefully. Make sure you're responding to everything that's asked of you. If you've got any questions, send them in during the open question period. Next slide. Okay, I think again, create a strong proposal, focus on past performance. If you haven't worked with us before, but you think you're capable, make sure that you're relaying how your previous experience is applicable in this environment. Okay, next slide. Okay, perfect. So this QR scan will get you to a list of our entire staff so that if you're interested in working in a particular area, you'll know the right person to reach out to. So with that, Haley, I want to pass it back to you and hope we have a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kimberly. If anyone has any questions, please drop them in the chat. We have a couple minutes to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Okay.
Yep.
Not seeing any questions yet. So
Mhm.
as people are thinking about what questions they may have, I'll just talk a little bit more about the agency and the work that we do. So, I know that sometimes USAID is an organization that people don't know a lot about. I think that's primarily because we don't work very much domestically. The domestic work that we do really is around the infrastructure of the organization. So it's around staffing, it's around IT work, it's around financial management, right? We have a lot of work in those areas for contractors. But everything else we do is overseas. And so one of the things that to remember if you want to work with us as an organization is that we have contracting officers here in Washington who are going to be making awards that will be used here, but also some that will be used overseas. And then I mentioned that we're in about 100 countries. Many of those countries have their own contracting staff. And if they don't, then they're covered by a regional mission, a regional platform where their contracting work is going to be done. So one of the important things to know about this agency is that if you are interested in working with us, to pick your point, right? If it's Washington, then you want to know about our Washington COs. If it's the field, then there are folks out there who are doing their own buying. And it's important to know that because you need to know who it is you're trying to market to. What, okay, and so we do have a question, Haley. What other contract vehicles do we use? We do open market, so we're buying things directly and doing standalone contracts. We do IDIQs. We do GSA. I mentioned the Oasis vehicle. We do a lot of IT buying, so we'll use SOUP and some of the other GWACs that are available for IT work. So we use a number of vehicles. We also do things like purchase orders, so and credit card purchases. But open market, GSA, government GWACs. I think that probably covers the bulk of it. We do award a lot of IDIQs, and those IDIQs are used by our contracting offices worldwide.
Perfect. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I think if you do have any additional questions, feel free to email Kimberly's team at the email listed on this slide, or you can always reach out to our team and we're happy to put you in contact with them. Um, as a reminder, this webinar recording and all presentation materials will be available on our website with all of our past webinar information, hopefully by the end of today. Um, And then we also have additional resources available with our upcoming events and partner events. Our biggest one coming up very quickly is our National Small Business Conference that will be held next month in New Orleans, February 13th to the 15th. It has countless networking and educational opportunities, and it's something that you definitely don't want to miss. There is limited space remaining for that conference, so if you are interested, reach out to our team or get registered as soon as possible. If you have any questions on anything covered on today's webinar, please feel free to contact us. We thank you again for joining us today, Kimberly. We appreciate your expertise as always, and we look forward to seeing you next month in New Orleans. This concludes today's webinar, and we hope that you will all join us next month. I hope you all have a great day, and that's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Haley.
Thank you, Kimberly.